Uh, okay, okay. We have to do the segment now, guys. So today's segment, on this one we're gonna read an article, and it's gonna be really relaxing, and I'm gonna give my thoughts on an article. This isn't gonna be too hard, okay? But yeah, I got this article on like my Google homepage because they know what I like. I like the VTubers. I think it's very interesting. So it's called "The VTuber Industry: Corporatization, Labor, and Kawaii. Why VTubers have become a hot investment vehicle and why the space is already consolidating." So what this article is basically about is how VTubers have become more of like products rather than people, especially in the case of like the Hololive talents. And I think that's really sad, and I think that this is a result of capitalism. I think we can blame that. I do play games. I promise I play games, just not this type of game. A tiny animated girl wearing a shark hood named Gargura demurs on stream as she maneuvers a 3D shark through the ocean of the video game Maneater. I wanted to play this game so I could wow everybody with my shark skills, but all I've done is make a fool of myself. Her voice sounds dejected, but even her model slumps downwards, her eyes closed. For a VTuber, virtual YouTuber who streams every week as a cheery shark girl, the moment is oddly revealing of the person behind the avatar. So, yeah, VTubers are people. They're not AIs. They're not fake. They're real, genuine humans, and I feel like a lot of people sort of lose that idea that a VTuber has personhood. There are people who like rank VTubers like you would rank like fast food or like fictional characters, like tier lists. There are people that rank VTubers, and I think that that's kind of whack, kind of wonky, because VTubers are people. They're not products. They're not things that you could like rank. They're human, and to do that is kind of dehumanizing. Gargura is just one of over 60 anime-faced streamers under Hololive, the virtual talent agency wing of the Japanese tech company Hover Corporation. With its animated roster of characters, all with backstories and unique designs, Hololive is Disney if Disney hired Mickey Mouse to stream Minecraft for several hours a day. I think that's a little bit of a weird comparison, but I get what they're going for. Hololive is basically, yeah, they have characters, and the characters live stream. That's their job. While VTubing is a phenomenon has grown sharply in popularity here in the United States within the last couple of months due to Hololive debuting several new VTubers who speak English on stream, it has existed in one way or another for the last decade, with various vloggers on YouTube or streamers using face animation technology to hide their actual faces. However, VTubing, as most people would know, it started in Japan in 2016 with Kizuna AI, a character created by Activate, Hololive, and another Japanese agency, Nisanji, owned by Ichikara Incorporated, whose creations now dominate much of the corporate VTubing space, started in late 2017, inspired by the success of and the attention that Kizuna AI generated. That's another thing that kind of makes people naturally dehumanize VTubers. I mean, Kizuna, she had AI in her name, and that sort of implied that she wasn't real, and then people started associating a lot of VTubers like with Kizuna because she was one of the first ones. While anyone can become a VTuber on their own with enough time or money, companies like Cover or Ichikara take up an outsized portion of the interested audience on streaming sites. Cover started out as a company in the AR and VR business, but moved into the virtual talent selector. Ichikara is a startup and designed to support their virtual talent. In 2020, Cover Corporation received 700 million yen, which is about $6 million US dollars, in venture capital funding in order to expand into new international markets like Indonesia and the United States. With these much larger resources and workforce, they can develop IP marketed on social media and create merchandise, produce music, and even put on live 3D events in a bid for everyone's finite attention. VTubing talent agencies can operate at a scale that individual indie VTubers can't. They also have set terms of engagement for VTubing as an industry rather than as a hobby. Honestly, I think the aesthetics of a VTuber who is a character in and of themselves, having people treat VTubers as not human, is the absolute worst. Yeah, I agree with you. So, with Hololive and the Hololive talents, they have a lot of money behind them. There's a lot invested in them. It is a sort of like a company that runs them, and they do have a lot of freedom, and they could play like whatever games they want, really, but there are still things that like they're limited to doing. Like they have to stream. Their schedules are pretty open, which we'll see later in the article. I know for Mori Kalelepi specifically, she really likes Moist Critical, Charlie. She really likes him, and I don't think they're ever going to be able to collaborate, even though he's acknowledged her and he wants to collaborate with her. I don't think they'll ever be able to collaborate because of Hololive and how strict they are, like who and who you can't interact with, if that makes sense. However, in each car's method operates at a scale, build a relatively comfortable stable of proprietary characters, and hire the performers to make them come to life on stream through a combination of auditions and private hiring. Through VTubing, these companies have harnessed the entertainment value of both streaming and J-pop idol groups, and harnessed they have as streaming monetization and even advertising sales can earn up to hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. However, all of this money comes along with all of the weird parasocial engagement and labor issues that those two industries regularly deal with. So, yeah, Hololive talents, because they're people and they have to pretty much provide emotional labor for entertainment, I guess that is their job. It probably, I don't know, when fans are being weird or they get uncomfortable by things, because streamers have to deal with that. Streaming is work. You have to, I don't know, you just have to be emotionally available to stream. It is a lot of work. I mean, as someone who does stream, I could barely do it for like a couple hours. It's really demanding, and it's hard, and it's a lot of work, but it's fun. And the thing about the Hololive talents that makes me kind of feel for them is that it really is work for them. Like it is extremely serious. It is not as much of a hobby, and I think most of them are happy. I really do. But I don't know. There are streamers who do stream full time, and it's like work for them, and it's good. But I just wish that Hololive made it so it was more of a hobby for these girls, because I'm sure some of them have experienced a good amount of stress. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure Hololive has some weird restrictions about things like speech and how they can market themselves. Yes, we will go into that. The article does talk about that. The aforementioned problems are also exacerbated by the fact that VTuber companies enforce quite a lot of secrecy around what they do. While it is standard in VTubing to keep all details around performers' identities behind closed doors for safety reasons, there's also weird blank spaces around internal company operations because of this lack of publicly available information. Professional discretion may be hiding any number of labor problems. Concrete information about how the business of VTubing works is fleeting, but exists. Hololive's rapid rise outside Asia compared to its competition has made it a valuable source of insight into how VTubers operate. Hololive's Drew Coco, who debuted in 2019, is one of the company's largest earners via YouTube Super Chats. Viewers pay real money to highlight their messages in chat to a maximum of $500 to stand out in the sea of comments or to be read on one of the many regular Super Chat rating streams, something traditional streamers typically don't do. According to Playboard's Super Chat worldwide earnings statistics for 2020, VTuber fans are more than happy to donate absurd amounts for brief attention. Super Chats form a cycle where their fans get to hear their favorite VTubers acknowledge them with a potentially funny response that gets immortalized into popular clip videos and then routes back into the YouTuber's pseudo-canon and subscriber count. And it works. Kiryu Coco, along with several other Hololive idols, dominate the charts with millions of dollars in combined estimated earnings. So as VTubers, like, they make tons of money, and it's pretty cool that they're able to make so much money. And I've watched a little bit of Coco. Coco's nice. I prefer watching the English Hololive talents. I watched them quite a lot. Unrelated, but I've been looking for someone to take up the mantle of being a leftist political VTuber. Well, happy to have come across this channel and hope it grows. Yes, thank you. I'm one of the first. There's another one, Pixie Explains. She's much smaller than me, but she's a three-dimensional VTuber, if that suits your fancy a little bit more. So those are like the only it's me and her, the only two I am aware of that are leftist political VTubers. What was I saying? I feel like sometimes the weird monetary feedback loop can be a bit depressing. I guess the best way to say it is the whole simp culture makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, that is the thing about being like an online personality. You have this sort of parasocial relationship that forms with you and your followers, and it's just an inevitable like way in which things are sustained, like the weird parasocial simp culture can be pretty damaging to some people, but it does keep these creators going. And I think that culture definitely could be better. It could be a lot more bearable. I haven't really experienced too much like bad simping, I guess. I haven't I'm pretty small, but I haven't really experienced anything that bad. But I know for sure that there are lots of creators out there who have like creepy people talk to them, and yeah, it's just weird. How that money makes it to the streamer is largely obscured by the glare of Hololive's idle sheen. But when you have a large roster of streamers talking online for many hours a week, things slip. According to Coco, 30% of the Super Chat money goes to Google, and the remaining 70% is split between Covert and the streamers. That pay on top goes to the streamers' cut of YouTube paid memberships and the base pay they all reportedly receive. But streaming is about numbers, and only numbers that platforms like YouTube and Twitch deem valuable enough to pay you for. Although there's a level of guaranteed eyes when you're streaming as a cute cat or sheep girl, Hololive and therefore Covert at large could still be subject to the volatility of streaming as a job for everyone else Long hours and little pay. The pay is about as opaque as the rest of Cover's business. Many Hololive streamers work full-time and participate in ad deals with companies like Nissan, while other streamers balance streaming as a side job with other work or school. So, I don't know why the fuck YouTube is getting like 30% of the super chats. That's really weird to me. I mean, I haven't, I don't know. I haven't really worked with YouTube on that large of a scale, but that's a little weird. You're calling me simp worthy? Okay. You prefer spider girls, but cat girls are cool. I'm not judging you. uh, but if you think about it, so YouTube gets 30, and then there's a remaining 70, and that 70 is split. So that's 35%. If we were to say that the super chat was worth $100, that's a total of $35 that the actual like talent, the creator worked for. Like they earn that super chat, nobody else, and they only get $35 of that super chat. Like that's really depressing. But back to the topic. Back to the topic. It's pretty wild that according to Coco, you only get 35% of the super chat as a Hololive talent. Like that kind of sucks. I really wish that Hololive itself and Cover were just like more transparent about this, and that it didn't have to be brought up by a streamer. Especially, I've been watching a lot of Mori Kalalapi specifically, and she talks about how she's busy a lot, and there's a lot of like work stuff that she's got going on, and I feel like she's a little bit burdened. It's just based on my impressions. I don't have any evidence for it really, but especially with probably not ever being able to like collaborate with Critical, I think that that's really sad, and I think it really bums her out and makes her sad. Like I get it, like you're being hosted by a corporation, but still to only get like 35% of your super chat money, like that's pretty awful. Like, that's gotta feel horrible. Knowing this, expected streaming behavior from Hololive VTubers is a mystery. They all adhere to weekly schedules where the time investment varies widely. One streamer might clock out after 2 hours, another might marathon for 10, and these schedules can repeat throughout the week with special collab and karaoke streams in between. Hololive's presence appears largely hands-off, although the streamers mention having managers. It seems that they determine the length and frequency of their streams on their own. Quotas, limitations, and best practices are never apparent. Like with many streamers, VTubing runs on a willingness to sit in front of a keyboard and camera and talk, mostly as characters for hours on end. Your body is the job. So yeah, it's very true that they have a good amount of freedom, and that's great. I'm happy that they're able to have that sort of creative liberty to play the games they want, sing the songs they want, and just have fun the way they want to at their own time. They just have to make sure they are just putting the work in, but it's like it's pretty free, and that's a very good thing about the job. But to have so much of your pay just like sapped out of you, it kind of sucks. It makes me wonder if being an indie VTuber is more lucrative in general, assuming you reach a decent amount of support though. That would come with the obvious sacrifice of corporate protections. Yeah, I mean, as a corporation, like with corporations, they probably do give you some type of insurance and stuff, and that'd be pretty cool. There are tons of indie VTubers I love to watch. There's this whale VTuber, and I can't remember her name, but she's completely independent. There was also V Shoujo, and V Shoujo is like Hololive, but it was made by Project Melody, and it has a lot of English talents. And from what I know about it, it seems a lot better than Hololive. It seems like it's just something to it's a company to help them with like model upgrades and to organize like events and collaborations. And I think V Shoujo is like what Hololive probably should be. I think they don't have any like crazy contracts. They have full creative like freedom, and I think they keep all the money they make. But I don't know. I feel like being an indie VTuber is a bit riskier because of the kind of oversaturated market and how unlikely it is to get peeps to actually find you, but you have tons of creative freedom. I think the actual like creative freedom differences are a little bit lower. Well, okay. Like as an independent VTuber, you have full creative freedom, but as like a corporate VTuber, you're limited pretty much only in like who you can collaborate with. There's not much other limits other than just like pay and stuff. But like for creative purposes, the only thing I think you're really limited on is like who you can collaborate with. Like Project Melody as a pretty much independent VTuber, she made V Shoujo. But before she did that, she did collaborate with Nux Taku and Moist Critical, and they made videos together, and there was no problem with that. Bao, yeah, that's the whale one, right? Yeah, I think I know what I'm talking about. Because I really want to meet one of these Hololive girls. Like I would love to talk to one, just because I look up to them so much and I really enjoy what they do. But I don't think I'll ever be able to, because I'm independent and I'm a political VTuber. I'm not just a regular wholesome gaming VTuber, and I think that that's really really sad. Is that why Calliope cannot collab with Critical? Yeah, it's because of Hololive. They're very strict about that because they care more about their company's image rather than like the the actual creative liberty of the creators. I mean, they still care a lot about the creative liberty, but like I think that there are some people that are just off the table. And with Critical, he has all the sex toys. He makes all the jokes, and he's very vulgar, and he's very lewd, and he's I don't know, he's very sex positive. And they're like Hololive talents, they're lewd too, and they're a little bit kinky, but like it's not to like Critical's degree where he literally has sex toys on camera. YouTube in general hates political channels. Imagine political VTubers, when they start popping up more, will be generally a lot less popular. Yeah, I think it'll be very niche. If political VTubers start taking off, I think it would be extremely niche for people to watch them. But I think that there will be an audience for it, and hopefully I can start cultivating that and really, really kicking that off. As I was talking to Surus last night, he told me that he might want to be a VTuber, and he kind of looked up to how I was being a VTuber in this sort of political context, and I thought that was pretty cool. All right, let's continue. Work as a Hololive VTuber is to be a mascot. The VTubers and their likeliness are leveraged as both talent and product, much like traditional idols. Cover is the business of selling uncomplicated characters played by uncomplicated people. In its short history, Hololive has had moments where it failed to protect its talent when that illusion was threatened. Several VTubers like Mono Aloe and Hitomi Chris and Eurosa Mel have been victims of harassment. Information about these instances is scarce, but it's clear that Cover wasn't prepared to protect their talent despite running the type of business where parasocial relationships from fans can easily explode into targeted campaigns. Only after a series of incidents which ended in the graduation, a term borrowed from the J-pop idol culture, or end of the job for affected VTubers, Cover said that it would take legal actions against harassers and introduce a reporting system. In an English statement, Cover said they were punished for divulging confidential YouTube channel analytics, and in the Chinese statement, Cover added that it supports the One China policy. Cover quickly addressed the discrepancy in the statements, saying that we decided to adapt the contents of our statement in the manner of its release accordingly. The company apologized and said it would create a compliance committee in order to avoid this error in the future, as well as start internal training for what it is VTubers can and cannot talk about. So this confirms that they have limits. There are clear limits as to like things they can and cannot talk about, and I think that that's pretty unfortunate. Coco and Hado's flum had lasting consequences for Hololive China, a separate group with Hololive. The 6 members saw a rush of harassment reports, telling Cover to disband the group entirely. According to some of the members, the group was notified of the closure early on when they were allowed to keep their models to stream elsewhere. The custom with VTuber graduations, all of the members had their social media accounts wiped or made inactive. None of them have writing. Hard to be surprised at Cover's response to this when so much about VTubing is still new. Once again, it wasn't prepared to handle the consequences of operating a business around global and public personas. It has only shown it can react, which raises the question about how many scrapes and bruises or worse will its VTubers suffer as it drags them forward. Corporate VTubing doesn't look a lot better than independent VTubing if the person behind the avatar is just as vulnerable. Cover tries to figure out this new form of business. Its talent gets treated like products that it can pull off of store shelves and replace in a few months. The secrecy around this operation allows them the power to appear generous when we don't have any specific information about what happens. While there's precedent for collective action from VTubers themselves, like with the Nisanji resistance, most of what we see are solutions to problems explained to us by the company. There could be any number of issues that we don't hear about because Hololive VTubers are largely barred from speaking with press or non-VTuber content creators. This is why the closer you get to Hololive and how it operates with its regard to its talents, well-being, the murkier it all becomes, which is largely ironic given that they spend so much time being publicly viewed. We aren't sure of anything that most people would consider to be important knowing about the job, which is fraught because streaming is still a job, one that requires oversight and incurs tons of risks. Coco is still getting harassment. That kind of sucks. We're almost done. Let's finish it. Even if the industry were remarkably transparent, the performers themselves are still beholden to tech corporations. Corporations are only ever as good as they feel like being, with many tech companies falling well short of the mark on a good day. While Cover, Ichikara, and any other fledgling VTubering companies do not have the juggernaut status of other media corporations that have been around for much longer, it's clear that we are already in the midst of watching streaming talent and performers and platforms grow, with millions of dollars in capital behind them. The dynamic changes because of the entertainment product is the bouncing anime girl in front of the stream, not the performers themselves. This diverges from traditional streaming, where the value comes from the person, being the brand themselves, and ostensibly making all of their own decisions. Ninja and Shroud are not owned by Twitch, they bring value to it as a platform. Decide to leave Twitch, they take the money that went with them. That's obviously not the case with VTubers, whose performance feels largely interchangeable so long as the output remains consistent. While having the security of a paycheck and anonymity as a streamer is nice, the fact that your value is largely interchangeable is a huge drawback. Of course, that's also what makes the format so appealing to the companies, investing in it at last. Talent can be fungible. Over or Ichikara have not responded to her comment. So, yeah, that was the article, and I wanted to read it for you all. And it's pretty depressing. It's sad. I think capitalism is a big thing to blame in this. Just like corporations having this much power over the workers is really unfortunate, and I think that they deserve more pay. They deserve more freedom, and yeah, that's pretty much it. They're kind of disposable. We saw something with Kizuna AI where they literally got like clone Kizuna AIs, and that was, I don't know, that was a thing that happened, and yeah, it's another thing destroyed by capitalism. Doesn't it suck? It really sucks. Like they kind of see this wonderful form of entertainment, and they're like, yes, this is how we can make money. This is pretty wild. And yeah, I think that about does it for that segment. We're gonna move on